What's a ticking time bomb you believe will explode during your lifetime?
Gambling addictions. It may not be the biggest problem we're facing as a society, but pairing gambling and smartphones can't end well for many people. I see so many ads for gambling apps.
And don't forget, we may get to see the first child/teen gambling addiction outbreak in history, thanks to the microtransactions in virtually every game, whether that's at a low-budget game in phones or a AAA game.
Even more than that, the bet on world events that's building is going to wreck polite society. If suddenly money is on the line for everything, we're going to see a lot more violent outbursts from people after major events. There's also all the accounts who front-run these things with near-perfect timing already while it's cutting edge and difficult to access. We are screwed when it comes to gambling.
I agree. The conspiracy theorist in me thinks this is some sort of psyop to both incentivize U.S. politics so that people make voting decisions based on betting returns than actual policy, like you said, and weaken the financial strength of the middle class by goading them to piss away all of their disposable income rather than invest it into the economy, or really anything useful. It can't be a coincidence that all these gambling ads that promote betting on everything, including government officials, have spiked in a time of political and economical uncertainty. They know what they're doing.
The rent and housing system. It's only holding together because older generations already own assets, in particular in my home country, while younger ones earn too little to build wealth or support the system through taxes. Add an aging population and fewer young workers, and the math just doesn't work. Most of my generation will retire very late, if ever.
Then there's the absolute nightmare of those homes being sold to fund elder care, rather than becoming inheritance helping along the next generation.
I had to get a sick certificate recently for work because I work in pharma production, so very strict guidelines about not coming in if you are anyway ill. I had just a common cold, coughing a bit, and a runny nose, but I had to go to the doctor for the certificate. I can't exaggerate how much she tried to push antibiotics on me. I was appalled, really, both at how insistent she was and the gap in knowledge that all the antibiotics in the world wouldn't help against a cold virus. Naturally, I rejected, but if she saw 20 patients that day with a cold and 10 of them took antibiotics for no reason, we will be in serious trouble in a few decades with these bacteria.
Ecological collapse. The coral reefs responsible for holding back a ton of the carbon dioxide in the Earth's oceans are irreversibly going to die. That may very well be the first domino to fall in a long series of disasters. And nobody in the world tried to do anything about it in the decades of forewarning we had, because someone else could do it, and investors need their money. Where are the bugs?
No, seriously. Massive corporate farms spraying pesticides has done irreversible damage to the ecosystem and will only get worse.
Public schools. There aren't nearly enough new teachers coming into the profession to replace the boomers and older Gen Xers as they retire. No one wants to pay $120K for a degree that pays you $40K at entry level. Gen Y/Z also won't buy into all the unpaid labor of being a teacher. Parents expecting you at their beck and call, working outside of contractual hours, spending their own money on supplies, etc. Add in the culture wars, the immediate blame put on teachers for all of society's ills, and the dismantling of the Department of Education, which, as outlined in Project 2025, will lead to no Title I funding in 10 years. Teaching will not be a profession anyone will feel is a calling. There are already massive vacancy rates in almost every public school district now. In 10 years, the system might not be able to function. Or it will be run by subs, AI, or maybe all remote staff.
People's overall lack of awareness of this is horrifying. Last week, we had multiple bomb threats in our district. I heard a parent say teachers knew what they were signing up for. While that may be true, the blatant, loud lack of empathy for educators was wild to see. So disrespectful.
I'm a first-year middle school special education teacher. Every newer teacher that I've talked to says they probably won't last 10+ years in education. I make $56K with a master's in a high cost of living area, and the amount of work is simply not worth it. I can go on about how bad education is right now, but for example, I have 6th graders that are reading at a 2nd grade level, have illegible handwriting, and fall apart or throw temper tantrums at having to write a 3-sentence paragraph. Parents are the worst part of the job, though. A majority act as if we don't all have a master's degree, and like education is not our area of expertise. As I write this, I'm emailing parents on the weekend, and I'm gathering all of the documentation for an upcoming meeting because a parent thinks we aren't doing enough for their kid when we've gone above and beyond what is listed on their kid's IEP. I have to stick with teaching for 4 years because of the Teach grant, but I'll be switching careers as soon as I can. Climate change. The entire Greenland struggle is only relevant because in a handful of decades, the polar region will be water and create new, highly profitable trade routes, and Greenland a strategical hub. People complaining about migration now are only seeing a fraction of what will happen in a handful of decades when islands and coastal regions will become uninhabitable. Those people living there need to go somewhere. Same goes for food, water, resources, infrastructure, and biodiversity. Anyone under 40 now will go through unprecedented times where the luxury we enjoy now will be fantasy in the future. Life is going to suck. All because the people in power and the people voting them in power are incapable of seeing beyond short-term gain and immediate comfort and convenience.
Humans will figure out that 52 Mondays on infinite repeat was used to condition them into a pattern of behavior that allows for the illusion of earning a life, as if they were slaves to life itself, trading living value, life, for dead value, money, ink on paper.
Well said. Yeah, I took a bunch of time off recently. No job, just using the money I've made, and people are shocked that I would do such a thing. The conditioning starts with kindergarten and goes all the way up. I have nothing against school and learning, but I do have a problem with work being 90% of people's adult lives and people somehow being on board with that.
The whole peak oil theory, though it's already been wrong because predicting by time is a critical part of a prediction. Just saying something like, "eventually I'll be right," is both easy and lazy. That said, peak oil's underlying constraints still exist and have not been ameliorated or addressed. So, as a lazy and easy prediction, it'll still eventually be right.
We've already peaked. Renewables are already the cheaper option for most of the world, and adoption is still accelerating. The Stone Age didn't end for a lack of stones.
Not-so-friendly countries are poking around in our infrastructure, as I'm sure all countries are doing to each other. WW3 won't be fought with weapons. It will be fought by taking the internet and network away. We will lose clean water, electricity, and communication. People will turn on each other and attack to defend/steal resources. The average person doesn't know how to hunt, forage, build suitable shelter, or perform first aid. Why fight a war physically when you can flip a switch and let that country destroy itself? It's not a question of if, but a question of when it will happen. 34. I reside in California, so I believe one of the biggest issues will be housing crisis. 2025, California passed a law on tenants that has had their income taken away or delayed from government, or their workplace has filed bankruptcy and all payments have stopped. Landlords cannot evict the tenants no matter what until their lease or contract is ended. This will be in effect sometime this year, 2026. A lot of landlords also don't know this too, but California law, Civil Code Section 1954 generally prohibits landlords from entering a rental unit without permission, requiring at least 24 hours written notice for valid reasons, like repairs, inspections, or showings, except in true emergencies, fire, flood, gas leak, or if the tenant abandons the property. But this also caused the squatter issue for the landlord's part. So the tenants could have the landlord arrested for trespassing, despite owning the property. My parents bought a new rural home in '97 for $96,000, mortgage $780. My brother bought a new rural home in 2012 for $133,000, mortgage $1,300. My sister bought her home, a new rural home, in 2022 for a whopping $496,000, mortgage $2,400. Get this, all of these homes are 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, near the same square footage of land, and APR is fixed first-time homer buyer of 5.9 to 6.5%. For me, I feel like it's buying an early casket for your retirement.